Yeah. So good afternoon and welcome everyone to this session on John McLaughlin. And so some of you may know, in case someone doesn't know, yesterday, January 4th, he was born in 1942. So that was his 83rd birthday. So you can take it that this is something like a celebration of his musical life today. And we will be going through his musical journey till date. And let's all enjoy the session as we go along. My name is Ramesh, and I'm just a music fan. And some of you know me. I've been coming here from Bombay and sharing the presentations with you. So let's go ahead with the journey of John McLaughlin till date. John, everyone likes to call him John in a very as if we are very close friends. But for our discussion, let's call him JM. JM was born Jan 4, 1942 in England. He came from a musical background. He studied piano. His mother was a big influence because his father left him or something like that. And he has written that I made up with my father much later in my adult life. So his mother was a big musical influence. So she taught him. She was a classical, classical musician. So she had a huge influence on him, and he studied all violin, piano, and child as a guitar. And in the 1960s, he was involved in a lot of sessions work. Now, I'm sure everyone knows a sessions guitarist means someone wants an extra guitarist, he goes and plays. He goes to the next session and does a guitar, plays the guitar over there. So he was a sessions guitarist in the 1960s, and then he did a lot of work. 1963, the Graham Bond Quartet is when he was professionally involved in a thing. Now Graham Bond was a big name, and so is Ginger Baker, Jack Bruce. All these people became very big names later on especially if I'm not mistaken, Ginger Baker moved on to with Eric Clapton and Cream. Eric Clapton to Cream, and then they had that group called Blind Faith. So that, of course, they went into the rock stream. But McLaughlin JM continued in a different way, is that he played various genres, and sometime later what happened is that his first album came out in 1969. It had multiple influences. It also had, what you can say, some kind of free and avant-garde kind of, some of the tracks were there. Couple of tracks, you think, what is he doing, what is happening? This is so unmelodic and so on. The album did not do very well, but it was, once he became famous, it was reissued later. This is John McLaughlin's first album. So it was reissued later. So Extrapolation is the name of the album. And there is a number in that called, I'm sorry. First. Kevin, you have to help me out. Some can go back. Go back. Okay, yeah. Okay, so this is the third track in the album. It's called as Arjun's Bag, and let's see how it sounds. The audio is not playing. You click on the link. Click on the audio. Yeah. back a little bit and then later we can discuss. This is like there's already some odd time signatures. It's not like 1, 2, 3, 4. Some 4 minutes back. So can you see that it's not 1, 2, 3, 4. The timing, the rhythm track is not in a very straight manner. There's only 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Some such odd timing signature is there. So he's already getting influenced by this shall we say, non-traditional time signatures. Now, for those of you who are, I don't want to go too technical, but let me just, based on my experience and my background, I've been trained in the Carnatic style of Mridanga playing. So I'm oversimplifying this. So typically rhythm patterns are 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Hundreds and hundreds of songs we can talk about that. And multiples of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Thousands of songs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This was somewhat coming close to that. Lots of film songs are there, like which 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 7. Pattern of 7. Well, by and large, this is what is used in Indian classical music. But technically, or rather theoretically, there are 35 different types of tals, the rhythm patterns. Most commonly used is, what is called as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is called as Adi Talam, a cycle of 8. Everything builds around the cycle of 8. That's in Carnatic music. Why I'm saying this is because it will come up again when we talk about Shakti and Mahavishnu and so on. So over here, with this rhythm pattern that you got, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, some such odd pattern. So he's already getting influenced by what is called as the non-traditional time signatures which are there. And as we will see later, he will build up and create his own time signatures which are odd. Now all the time signatures, the rhythm patterns that we have, they are all either odd numbers or even numbers. You have either 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 11, 24, 27. The tal, which is maximum number, is 29. But you don't have 27 and 3 quarters traditional. He created his own time signature. Some songs are there 6 and 3 quarter, 4 and quarter, and 7 and 3 quarter, and so on and so forth. So, that's really challenging the entire thing, but we'll come to that later. So, let's move on with the journey. So, he moved to the US in 1970. He says he jammed once with Jimi Hendrix once in sometime 1969. He says, unfortunately, there is no tape of that. It would have been 1 in a million kind of tape. So, moved to the US in 1970, and that's when things really started happening. Tony Williams was already well known because young Tony Williams was always young Tony Williams. Thanks to Miles Davis picking him up at the age of what, 18 and 16? 17. Okay. So, because he's picked up at 17, he's always young Tony Williams. But here he is already in 1970 or so, starting his own group for his lifetime. And the first album was known as Emergency. It was a trio, Tony Williams, Larry Young, and John James on guitar. Okay. The album was re-released after John McLaughlin released, but no one paid it too much of attention. It did not climb the charts or anything like that. But later on, cashing in rather. I shouldn't say banking in, cashing in on James post Mahavishnu and Shakti phase. All his earlier albums were released. Okay, so moving on. The breakthrough came, of course, with Miles Davis, because Miles Davis was done with quotes unquote white man's music. Jazz is here. He famously quoted, "Jazz is a name which is given by white man to what we play." So he was done with that and was looking in new directions. So the whole rock, essence of rock is what he said, okay, there is something that is probably which we can take a look at. So Witches Brew and In a Silent Way are two path-breaking albums. Everyone knows here that Witches Brew is something, it's literally like a huge cauldron in which all sorts of masala is being put. We don't know what is coming out, okay, honestly speaking. Personally, it's not my favorite album. I like In a Silent Way better because side 1, it is one long continuous music. Side 2, it is one long continuous music. And the artists are improvising. So you have all the who's who of 1970s jazz, like Joe Zawinul, Chick Corea, everyone who went on to create their own groups. They are all there in this two path-breaking albums. And Witches Brew is now available in a standard version, and then the outtakes and all sorts of stuff. Okay, alternate takes, outtakes, everything is available nowadays. So here, but Miles Davis was so impressed with John McLaughlin's playing that he said, "Here is a track in your name. This track will be titled John McLaughlin. Play what you want to play." So let's hear that track from Witches Brew, and the title is called John McLaughlin. keyboard going on in the background, and Tony Williams is doing some stuff on the drums, and improvising. That's it.
Okay.
And for me, this is where I felt for the first time
Get this guy a bit
that
more.
generally speaking, that he had some kind of Indian influence coming into his playing. Now, what I mean by that is, normally Western players are not, rather most of them, shall we say, in Indian playing of sitar, veena and all, you quote unquote what is known as bend the note, that sort of thing. So you can at times see him doing this in this particular, doing stuff like that and improvising. So this is again, I would say that somewhere along the way the Indian part is coming in. In fact, he has famously quoted in a 2015 interview that I think I must have been born in India and not my previous birth or something like that, because the influence is so strong. So what he did in that is that it was already coming in, and around the same time what happened is that early 1970s he did this album called Devotion, very avant-garde. Definitely not my favorite album.
Got it.
But what is happening is that the kind of people, he's still experimenting and trying to find out which is the way to go in the
It's still not live?
But then something happened.
It's still not live?
Is that he came under the influence of this quote unquote spiritual leader called Sri Guru Chinmoy. And Guru Chinmoy said, why you typical this is the 1960s, please remember, so a lot of Indian influences were going into the West. The Hare Krishna movement started at that time, a lot of spiritual leaders were there. The Beatles also came under the influence of some spiritual leader. So at the same time, you can see the photo of John McLaughlin in this, that he looks very thin, almost like a sadhu, ascetic look to him. And what he did is that he dedicated this entire album to his Guru Sri Chinmoy, whose photo is given over there. Some years later, they had a falling out for whatever reasons. He has also not mentioned it. That was a phase in my life I was following him. Now I am no longer following him and left it like that. So then here is JM always said that he is deeply influenced by, as with any jazz artist, you always get influenced by what came before you. So he cited Mingus as one of his major influences, and so as a tribute, he played this Goodbye Popeye Hat in a purely acoustic version. So here we come to the phase where forever, even today. John McLaughlin is known as Mahavishnu. It is a name given by his spiritual leader, Guru Chinmay. Another famous guitarist, we'll see that a little later, Carlos Santana was also under the influence of Sri Chinmay. Santana was given the name as Devadi. So it showed up in the way they were playing also. A lot of heavy duty Indian influences. And I read an interview, not report. I read an interview of Billy Cobham long ago, sometime in the 1990s or so. Billy Cobham has gone on record and saying that I have never played drums the way I played for Mahavishnu. Because I was huffing and puffing and, trying to match speed for speed, width for width, beat for beat, and so on and so forth. But now I'm playing in a much more relaxed way. It was very challenging to play for the Mahavishnu Orchestra. Because the interviewer asked him, so how was it with Mahavishnu Orchestra? And you can see a little bit of that in the video that will come up. So typically Mahavishnu Orchestra made 3 studio albums and one live album. So the first album was The Inner Mounting Flame. Next was Birds of Fire. Then there is Between Nothingness and Eternity. And then there is a album which is called The Lost Trident Session. That was available as late as the early 2000s. So in the live album, whatever tracks were played, the studio version of that. So these were the 4, and almost critically everyone accepts that MVO1 was the best Mahavishnu Orchestra. There were 3 iterations. There was MVO2, there was MVO3, purely because of the interaction and the energy level, and it's like they were on fire. Everything was on fire. The speed with which they were playing, it is all amazing. So let's move on. So the 4 albums. So these were the sidemen: Jerry Goodman on violin, Rick Blaine on bass, Jan Hammer on keyboard, and Billy Cobham on drums. I already said about that. So essentially, what happened is that it set the bar very high for jazz rock fusion, and again with the jazz rock fusion with the Indian influences. Okay, so this particular. So all rhythmic structures, I'll tell you a little bit about it when we come up. So high energy, 1 minute. High energy, loud, and simply microwave. So I always tell my wife is that no, I'm going to make the neighbors complain. She says, why? I'm going to play Mahavishnu Orchestra on my stereo system. If the neighbors are not complaining, then you're not listening properly. It's that good, it's that loud, it's that high energy. So here is a live version. Incidentally, whatever tracks I'm playing today, it's all available as a QR code. I'll send the QR code on the screen. Later on, you can take a look at it. It's all available on YouTube. Nothing is mine, nothing is my original thing. So I just want to make it very clear. So this is the Mahavishnu Orchestra 1 caught on live at BBC. And you can see again that he's very, ascetic looking, very thin, gone off meat, no smoking, no drinking, very simple lifestyle. And he says, he's gone on record as saying that, MVO, the first MVO1 broke down because of personality clashes between me and all the other members, because they wanted to go and party. They're famous. Okay, so they wanted to go and party. I wanted to go back to my room, settle down, meditate, and sleep. So he says this is one reason. Of course, there were other reasons like you're not playing my composition and so on and so forth. But it is generally agreed that the 3 albums that they made are simply awesome. So let's take a quick look. All these videos and tracks are very long, so I'm not going to play them full. So let's just see about 5 minutes of this. And the original record version is slower than this. So original record version is This is the speed, and look at the speed at which these people play. Probably 1.5 times of or twice what it was played in the record. It's called noon word race. Okay, I think let's forget that. Let's move on. So, Birds of Fire. Okay, this is an audio track. Again, odd time structures. I'll explain that a little bit later. It's 4.5. One cycle is 4.5. In around 2016 or so, same song but performed with 4 different guitarists. You'll see that from the YouTube because we've still got a lot to go and just take a little back on the time. So the idea is, so just quickly explaining the rhythm pattern. So it's like 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 So it's 4.5, 4.5. It's a cycle. Okay, can be argued that pi of that is 9, and there is a tal which is a cycle of 9. But individually, it's like one cycle is around 4.5, which I think they just thought themselves on that. And there is further complication in that. I don't want to explain it now because as a rhythm player, we need to go to a different way to explain it. So there's one more complication in it. They have squeezed some stuff inside that. Let's leave it like that. I'll explain it later, a little later. So going further, then came Mahavishnu, the second part. So Apocalypse is the Jean-Luc Ponty, who's a well-known violin player. He replaced, and then Nana Michael Walden came as a drummer. Gail Moran came into keyboards and vocal, and Ralph Armstrong in bass. Now, Apocalypse was not very well received by the critics. They said this is kind of self-indulgence and stuff like that. But believe me when I say this, that I use the Apocalypse album to buy my stereo system. Because it's an excellent test of complete dynamic range of your speakers. Because on one hand, you have electric bass, electric guitar, electrified violin, and on the other hand, you have the London Symphony Orchestra. So both together, going in together, it really tests your amplifier, it really tests your system. So even today, I'm very happy to say that Bose did not pass. Bose speakers did not pass. I bought a Yamaha speaker separately, and I bought a separate amplifier. So coming back to that, so it's such a good track, and this is an album which I can listen to. It's always there on my mobile, any place, anytime, anywhere I can listen to it. It's that good, and there is something, for lack of a better word, I will only say that there is something very a kind of a cosmic connection is what you feel when you listen to this album. I must have listened to the album in a loop for almost 4 hours. In a loop for almost 4 hours. Then I understood this is far, far beyond anything anyone. This is not, you don't want to give it a title or a label called jazz. This is something completely different. So Apocalypse is an amazing album, and then it was followed by not so great work. It was called as Visions of the Emerald Beyond, and another album called Inner Worlds. Both were okay, not the kind of stuff that we would normally probably expect with GM. They were not high energy, they were kind of, it felt as if they just put together some tracks and then made an album just to cash in on the Mahavishnu label, so to say. So I'll give you a brief. Then there was MPO 3 also. That was also not all that great. Now we come to the really interesting part where probably McLaughlin won a lot of Indian fans. I attended sometime in 2002 or 2003 the Remember Shakti reincarnation of the original Shakti. So Zakir Hussain was there, and he said, we had John, Vikuji, and myself. So 3/4 Indians are there, now let's get the 4th quarter. But unfortunately, that was not El Shankar, as was the original group. They made only 3 albums. And those 3 albums are worth their weight in gold. And if someone wants to understand how, this is where again he had a special guitar designed. I am not sure whether you can see it in this picture. Probably here, there's a sort of a cross strings which give you more resonance and then allow them to bend the note. So you will hear track like exactly like a veena or a sitar. Okay, so this is something truly amazing to get that kind of. He said, I studied veena and I know how difficult that instrument is to play the veena. So he wanted that effect, and this was specially designed for him. And this particular guitar, he used it for only for the Shakti recordings, and of course the live performances. So Shakti, you had El Shankar and Viku Vinayakaram, Zakir Hussain. Viku Vinayakaram came in on the later 2 albums, not on the first album. This is Shakti Live, where we had a person playing on a mridangam, which is our album. Vinayakaram came in with the ghatam on the next 2 albums. So there were 3 albums, A Handful of Beauty, Natural Elements, and Shakti Live. So let's listen to Natural Elements, Daffodil and the Eagle, which is based on the Rag Mohanam. In Hindustani, you call it as Bhoot or Bhopali. And it's a lovely number because by and large, Rag Mohanam or Bhopali gives you always this very happy and joyous feeling. Okay, so let's quickly listen to the track. songs, film songs, we can easily equate with that. Now, I already said that they were both, John McLaughlin and Carlos Santana, were under the influence of Guru Chinmoy. So, under their influence, they made this album called Love, Devotion and Surrender. And it's like both of them went to the studio and just started improvising. So you get that improvising feel. The first two numbers are basically John Coltrane compositions, A Love Supreme, and then it is followed by Naima. And then you have an extended almost 16 to 17 minutes of continuous improvisation. It's called A Love Divine. A Love Divine or a Life Divine. So they just keep improvising on that, and sometimes it feels a little nahi, kuch bana nahi, but at times you feel, oh wow. So let's quickly listen to A Love Supreme. That's just the first, because we are a little delayed, so. Hear the two distinct guitar sounds of different voices. Trouble I have making this program is I had a lot of trouble which tracks to keep and which to exclude because it's an embarrassment of riches. So I know I am unnecessarily hurrying ahead because like I said, all the tracks you can see them at the end when they are available as a upwards. That is this period up to say about 75 we are covering. What are the things which he did? Now. 1979, he did an album called Johnny McLaughlin Electric Guitarist. It's based on the cover of that album is his visiting card. When he was, I think, 16 or 18. When he was 16 or 18, he made a visiting card which said Johnny McLaughlin Electric Guitarist. So he just used that, but there is no overall theme or anything like that. It is multiple artists coming together and jamming with GM. So here is a track called Are You the One? So let's see how that plays out. Very, very danceable track, you can say. So the next album was known as Electric Dreams. So Miles Davis allowed John McLaughlin to play one track called, which is just titled John McLaughlin. So apparently here is John returning the favor. Miles is not playing, but the track is titled Miles Davis as a sort of a tribute. Again, there is no particular theme or style in this album. Multiple artists have got together and they are playing. So this is just a very unique number. It's very almost like avant-garde, but at the end, if you are listening closely, you will get that in a silent way. That riff which is there in a silent way. You'll hear it right at the end of the song. Okay, so let's listen to how this is. I'll move on with that. Let's come to the next period in his life, which is the guitar trio. The guitar trio which he made, they made 3 albums, but this is again with Al Di Meola, who was something like if John McLaughlin is a speed demon, Al Di Meola is something like twice that. So in the 70s and 80s, what are albums Al Di Meola made? He was playing very fast, almost like competing with John McLaughlin. And Paco de Lucia, of course, is a master of the flamenco genre. And the 3 got together. And the first album that they did is the simply outstanding live album, Friday Night in San Francisco. It's a simple delight to hear that album. Because this is what I think when you listen to the album, then you come to understand this is what live jazz is all about. Because the interplay between them is simply superb. That was the first album which they did, and they played. John McLaughlin was playing only acoustic guitar. Friday Night in San Francisco was the first album. Then second one was a studio album, which is known as Passion, Grace and Fire in '83. And then they did a guitar trio in 1996. Again, but in 1996, this album, which I saw, which I heard is more of the three of them are very relaxed playing. It's not like they are competing and they want to prove that I am the fastest guy on the planet. It's a very relaxed way of playing, and whatever needs to be proved has been all proven in the past. So let's just play. It's something like that. Seems to be the operating principle. At least that's how I feel. Is that they are not competing at all. They're just having a good time playing good music. So so here's hopefully the video will play. Here's a live video of Spain. Let's hope it plays. Okay, sorry. This is a live performance of a classic, Spain, which is written by Chick Corea. And the three of them playing together. Sorry, some glitch, so please forgive me for that. You can watch it at leisure on YouTube. Now come to the 1980s, where he was mostly in the, let's say, first 6 or 7 years. He was mostly playing acoustic guitar only, but the albums that he made were with electronic backing. So though he was playing acoustic, you had a keyboard, you had an electric bass, and so on and so forth. So Belo Horizonte was the first album which he made at that time, and it starts very low, and you can hear it. The second album, which is here, is called as Music Spoken Here. And Loro is the last number in that album, so it's quite nice to listen. It's 2 minutes, so I'll play it full. also a change in the labels for which he was working. Belo Horizonte was the first album where he had changed. Earlier it was all CBS. Now it is Sony Music. Okay. So from CBS, he changed now to Warner Brothers, which was the first Belo Horizonte. So subsequently, and that also saw a change in the kind of personal excitement that were playing with it. Mostly, not always, I would say, they were European. You know, like the keyboards was played by his 10th wife, his second wife, Katia Lapek. She was a classical pianist and keyboard player. So in both these albums, the keyboards, the piano and other keyboards were played by her. So there was a sort of a, you can say, tilt towards European sidemen and artists in the subsequent albums. But these two are classic examples of that. Again, unfortunately, I don't know whether this will play because this is his next album was a studio album, but there is also a live version of that available. It's called as Mediterranean Concerto. He is playing acoustic album and with a symphonic orchestra. Now remember, in Apocalypse it was electric guitar and symphonic orchestra, whereas here it is an acoustic guitar and a London Symphonic Orchestra. It's amazing to accept that typically in a symphonic orchestra, classical music, what they say, there is no place or space for improvisation. What is there on the music sheet is what you have to play. So in this particular concerto, there was some space which is provided for McLaughlin to improvise. Okay. So there were various versions, various conductors were there. One of them, I think this particular video is conducted by the famous conductor Michael Tilson Thomas. So sorry, but there is some glitch in the video, so you have to bear with me on that. Then came the 1990s. There were many solos, trios, quartets, switching between acoustic and electric. He came back with, like I said earlier, remember Shakti concerts. Now instead of El Shankar, you had the genius U. Srinivas on the mandolin. Now mandolin typically is not an instrument which is associated with classical music, at least in India. Okay. So here is a 6-year-old boy who was playing with the mandolin and he floored everyone so much so that he was forever, even today, after his death, he is still known as Mandolin Srinivas. Because the instrument has, and after that, there were so many other people who started learning mandolin. And John McLaughlin has said in so many words that though we did not get Shankar, El Shankar for these concerts, we have a wonderful substitute, better than a substitute, who has gone into a new dimension and we are able to completely interact with him, and that is U. Srinivas. And there are a couple of videos also where Srinivas also talks with a lot of respect, saying that John G selected me and it's an honor to play with him. And the interplay between them live, which I saw in that concert in 2003, is really amazing. It's incredible, and most of the Remember Shakti concerts and albums had only, if I'm not mistaken, only John McLaughlin was a non-Indian, let me put it that way. It was all Hariprasad Chaurasya, Shikma Sharma, U. Srinivas. The personnel kept varying, but Vikku Vinayakaram, not Vinayakaram, his son, Selva Ganesh, and Zakir Hussain were constant. And the other person kept on changing. So this series of concerts, I have attended one, like I said, in 2003. Frankly, I went with the expectation that it will have the same high voltage, high energy of Shakti. At that time, I was disappointed, nahi, Shakti nahi bana. But then, like today when I look back, no, they are not, it is Remember Shakti. It's a totally different way of looking at things. So, it has its it is on its own, we have to look at it, not in comparison to Shakti. And of course, one final addition which today John McLaughlin simply loves and says he is my vocalist. Shankar Mahadevan also came in as a vocalist for Venugopal Shakti. There's a good friend of mine, unfortunately, he said, I may come because he is in Pune. He said that he had met John McLaughlin years ago. He says, I love that boy. He was talking to that boy, Shankar Mahadevan. That's because he has added something unique to the group. And the dynamic, see, ultimately it's what you bring to the table that counts. So Shankar Mahadevan is vocal, here are the instruments. So how they interplay between them, and what is the output of that, what is the fruit of that, is what we get to see. And the fruit is simply enjoyable. So K. Allegra was another studio album with Kai Eckhart, Dominic Piazza and Philo Kuttu. I think Philo Kuttu is an incredible drummer. The kind of drumming he has done in this K. Allegra album, and there is a live at Albert Hall. This particular album, which is Royal Albert Hall.
We're going to play a special kind of blues that was written a few years ago for McLaughlin. We're going to play a special kind of blues that was written a few years ago.
LW is Ned Valenza. Was the first. This is I'm getting it short, sorry, but in this, at the end, what happens is there is a wonderful interplay between John McLaughlin and Venugopal. Now, Venugopal, for those who don't know, is a bowl, like ta-ding, 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 this sort of stuff which the perfectionist always say. So that is known as Venugopal. Okay. So, and just a quick aside that you are first taught this पहले बोलो फिर ताल में डालो फिर बजाओ. There is no straight play. You have to internalize it and then only you can start playing. So the protocol is important in learning how to play, how to emphasize what song. So it's like the first time is the way you say you have to play that way. So this is Shallow Ganesh did lot of protocol also in this. In most of the albums, and Philo Kuttu did it fantastically in that live album. I would suggest you listen to that. It's a great album which is completely live at Royal Albert Hall. 1990s is a very lots of studio work, but then again he's you cannot say it's like he's playing Indian music. He's playing what he wants to play. Okay, so Time Remembered is a sort of all the compositions in this particular album were by Bill Evans, the pianist. And Bill Evans is, at least to me, he's not exactly, shall I say, quote unquote, accessible. You have to really sit, focus, and then listen to Bill Evans' compositions. So this entire album was tribute to Bill Evans. And some of his compositions also. This is a composition which is called as Venugopal. Shifting every 4 bars or so. This is a lovely album. I After the Rain is a nice album. Why? Because it's all standards. Standard numbers. So the first standard he plays is, everyone knows the song thanks to Sound of Music. Everyone knows the song, My Favorite Thing. So let's hear a little bit of that. So everybody, all of you were singing along. I love that because it's my favorite thing. Okay, it's very well. So the entire album is like that. It's only standards. Okay, very popular numbers which everyone knows. More of 1990s. So there is an album called as Promise. This is 1995. And then you have another album called The Heart of Things, When Love Is Far Away. There's a slightly Indian feel to this album. Most of the tracks makes no time. We already verified. So most of the tracks, the excitement, the personal, are lots of Indian personal content. You know, to the Kimball or Louis Banks, many other people. I think you Srinivasan also, and Louis Srinivasan also was there in a couple of his albums. One of the albums, Shankar Mahadevan is there. So it's a rich, it's a rich variety of fusion of the West and the East, and he's playing what he's feeling. That's all. At the end of the day, jazz, as we all know, as the oldest definition, jazz is what you are, who you are. So he's just playing what he feels like, and it's a wonderful series of albums. Couple of the tracks sound a little, oh, what was that? I can't understand that. But it's okay. Rest of them are all very, very accessible, melodic. You can really listen to that. Then he did this tour with this group called Fourth Dimension. Okay. During 2020, he made this during COVID. He made this album called Is That So? With Zakir Hussain and Shankar Mahadev. Okay. And there is almost a 15 to 20-minute clip available on YouTube. So somehow, I don't know, the video is not playing over here. It's okay, not an issue, but I'm just telling you that it's truly, even though they were doing it over the net, they were doing it live. John McLaughlin is in Monaco, Zakir is in another place, Shankar Mahadev is in India. The interplay is amazing. And that's when you really feel that, they are so together, it's almost like they are one complete organism, they are moving in one direction only. Now, what do you call? John McLaughlin had a very amusing meeting. Zakir Hussain passed away recently, so I thought, let me take some time to just have one special, slide and talk about Zakir Hussain and such. I don't think he needs any introduction from me as to who he is, what he is, and so on. But I'm just going to talk about the meeting which John McLaughlin has narrated many times in various magazines and interviews. He says he was looking for some Indian music teacher, John McLaughlin. So he went to some music shop and he apparently met Zakir Hussain there. And both of them said, McLaughlin said, I want to learn vocal music. And quotes unquotes, Zakir tested me. This is John McLaughlin saying, okay, Zakir tested me. And we both agreed that I was better off playing the guitar than singing. Okay. But then the interplay, the relationship really took off between them. He says, we just started jamming. We went to Zakir's place and started jamming. It was almost as if we had been playing like musicians for years together. So that mental wavelength was immediate and the bond was immediate, and from there was born their relationship together. And they went on, of course, to Shakti, Rupa Shakti, so many other albums. In 1987, for ECM Records Europe, Zakir Hussain made an album called Making Music. That's the title of the album. And various musicians played on it. But the first track is titled Making Music. And it's based on Rag Hamsadwani and Hariprasad Chaurasia is there. And amazingly, saxophonist Jan Glavarek has done a brilliant job playing the raga on saxophone, which I thought never would be possible when I heard it right initially. Of course, after that, we had Venugopal in Carnatic music who was playing the saxophone, Carnatic songs on saxophone. But this is really, it's a wonderful track, and Hamsadwani is supposed to be again a very happy feeling kind of raga where you don't feel anything, sad or anything like that. We listen to Making Music and you would have heard this track a million times. I mean, without copyright, people have used it in all sorts of places. Once I was in an Air India plane and we were landing. So during the landing phase, they switched this one. I don't know how, but that's how it happened. So let's listen to Making Music, which is, okay, here you go. We'll listen to it for probably about 3 to 4 minutes or so. The tone is unmistakable, that is Hariprasad Chaurasia. solo and we'll listen to that and then move on. It's a 16-minute track. Okay, so we'll go on. Let me move on. We are almost at the end. I have hurried through many of the audios and videos, unfortunately, because of lack of time. But don't worry, all the links are there in the QR codes, which is given at the end. So you can listen to them at leisure and watch them also. So with Zakir Hussain, so this is again a video, Is That So, which is collaborative, which unfortunately is not playing. Zakir Hussain and Shankar Madhavan together in this particular video. Again, it's a very long video. So almost 11 minutes or so. So some of the quotes on John McLaughlin or by him is, I think this is the best quote I have ever heard about fusion. You know, a lot of people, I'm sorry, I will not name any names, but there are a lot of people who are very pretentious with I do fusion music, you know. But it looks like tracks put together and not at all appealing. This is, I think, the best statement which I have ever heard about fusion. It should be inside of you and you cannot just put it together. And this was in the Downbeat magazine of 1982, if I'm not mistaken. And then one of the best quotes is by a contemporary, Pat Metheny. It is from his website, patmetheny.com. In the evolution of the guitar, John has done it 3 times: acoustic, Mahavishnu groups, Shakti, and so on. So it's like somewhat like his mentor, Miles Davis. He has kept on changing his style, not sticking to any particular saying, and this is it, and I'm going to do this only for the rest of my life. He has continuously evolved and kept on changing. And I think this is the best quote to understand him and his music. I'm certain I lived in India in another life, because that sort of innate, for lack of better word, I will use the word spiritual. I know it sounds very, very stereotyped, but for lack of better word, I think that spirituality in his music, in the way, the joy of playing this, and a kind of a cosmic connection. I think he has got it, he has imbibed it, not got it, he has imbibed it. With his consistent visits to India, meeting Indian musicians, getting to understand the music, learning to play the veena. And in fact, in one interview, he was asked, who are the musicians you listen to? And he goes very clearly, there is another Nadasaram player called Rajaratnam Pillai. Rajaratnam Pillai is a Nadasaram player. He's passed away long ago, but he says it's amazing. Nadasaram is a very difficult instrument to master. Okay, because first of all, it's a wind instrument. It's very long, and takes a lot of. You don't find too many Nadasaram maestros. You will find veena, sitar, and all that, but very little. But he says this is a Nadasaram player I listen to. So he's that deep into Carnatic music. And of course he's that deep into Hindustani music also. So it's something that he has got it all, it's inside of him. It's inside of him. So let's conclude. Typically in Hindustani music, North Indian Hindustani music, typically you conclude the recital with Rag Bhairavi. In Carnatic system it is known as Sindhu Bhairavi. So here is a track which is part of the Shakti recordings. Okay. Again, this is a very long recording. It's 14 minutes and 40 seconds. So I might have to and this is a very odd rhythm pattern which they invented themselves. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So, it's as a rhythm player, I can understand what is going on. It's like Tatimi means 3. So that's what they are doing. So just so that if you get that, then you understand how complex and challenging they have made it for themselves, and in the process make some great music. Okay, so let's hear that a little. There is no such rhythm pattern to the best of my knowledge. It is kind of they have created it themselves. So let's see what they do with this. If you want to count, you can count once they start. Give him the envelope. Sorry about that, we just have 10 minutes left. So, any questions or anything, I leave it to you. That's the QR code for all the tracks and all the tracks, audio or video that we played today. And thank you very much for being patient and thank you, audience, and thanks to all. Thank you. Which I know about John McLaughlin, I'm willing to share. If I don't know, I will say, I don't know. Yeah, that concludes my presentation. Thank you so much. Yeah?
So, going to this Indian interest, can it be connected to a single incident that triggers that connection, or like you said, that
No, it's I said that in the city was the 60s, so all these Western influences were there. So catching point was
that is
yeah.
Finders keepers, huh?
And from that he went on his own of studying and so on.